Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In the Relationship Arena, where I dive into what goes on in session, what comes up for couples, families, individuals, all that good stuff that we look at when we think about relationship and relationship support. And in this episode, I'm looking at those initial conversations. There are so many conversations that we have, and there are so many conversations that we don't have. And it's always interesting when we get into session and things are not quite where they need to be. And we're talking about some basics, some fundamentals about the relationship dynamics, about the roles that people play. And people haven't ever spoken about them because why would you? So you meet someone, it's amazing. You start to build a relationship together. Everything's easy. You want to take it to the next level, or perhaps, you want to move in together. Maybe you want to get married. Maybe you want to have a baby together. There's lots of things that move the relationship on. But at what point do you stop and lay down the rules of engagement? At what point do you look at the relationship dynamics? At what point do you talk about the basis that is going to be the foundation of the relationship? And often the answer is we never have, because we never thought we would need to. We make assumptions, there's expectations. We don't talk about the roles that people play. We kind of would like to assume that these roles are just going to naturally form and that everyone's going to know what they're doing and what they bring to the relationship. And this is all going to adjust as our lives adjust. And actually, it's often not the case, because maybe your view of relationship and your partner's view of relationship are very, very different. So one of the conversations that I encourage people to have, and this is especially because, with one of my other roles is as a celebrant, where I'm involved in people making long-term commitments. They're making these public commitments, they're making, marriage commitments, they're making vows to each other. What I'm really, encouraging of couples to do is to think about, what does this mean? Where do they both sit in the relationship? What are some of the basics that you need to cover? Do you both work? What's the financial piece going to look like? You're going to have joint bank accounts. Are you going to share responsibilities? Are you going to share the household stuff? If you're going to start living together, what are you going to bring into, the home? How are you going to make decisions about the schedules and how you live and what the vibe of that place is? What about friends and socializing, and individual interests, and how often do you go out, and what's your friendship group like? And, so there's lots to talk about. And then we have some of the other things that are interesting, the small things like, who's going to cook? Who likes to do that? How do you like to spend your evenings? Do you want to go to bed at the same time as each other? These are some things which actually can be really important in a relationship, but no one ever talks about. And then we get to the deeper conversations. I've had a really interesting conversation. I'm going to do an episode all about this, about where the line is in terms of boundaries, in terms of other people coming into the relationship. What are your boundaries? What are you comfortable with? What is okay? And what is starting to move into the world of what we call micro cheating? Where do you start to feel uncomfortable? So there's so much that to talk about. And in those heady early days, you're learning about each other all the time. You're learning what you like and dislike, but it's kind of surface level. The surface level is, what music do you like? What programs do you like? What hobbies do you have? What do you do for a job? What was your background? What's your childhood like? There's so much to talk about. The more comfortable you get with each other, the less we have these communications. I also encourage my couples to do weekly check-ins of what's going on for you. How are you feeling about things? Communicating with each other is absolutely vital. But the big thing is the conversations that maybe you could have, but you never have had. And if you've never had them, when we start to dive into these things in session, because things are now not where they need to be, there's this, I never knew that, or I just assumed, or why would you not know that? Or how come that's always down to me? You've never talked about it. It's never been discussed. And we would love to think, as I say, that this will all work itself out naturally, but that's not the case. So the relationship dynamics, the foundation of the relationship is really important. Perhaps you are someone who's an organizer and your partner isn't. Perhaps you are someone who likes things all in its place and your partner isn't. Perhaps you have priorities that are different to your partner. Perhaps you throw yourself into your work and you are more of and your partner, is very much about work-life balance. Some of this you're not going to discover until it starts to rub you up the wrong way. And by that time, you end up getting into more of a defense conversation because you're already feeling like you're on the defense. So I really want you to think about, in this short episode, what are the conversations you have? What are your rules of engagement? What is acceptable to you and what is unacceptable to you? What role do you play in the relationship that you have? And what role do you want to play? And are there tweaks to be made? And is your partner happy with how that's all going as well? So much conversation that isn't spoken about, and we haven't even dived into the world of intimacy, and as I say, other people in the relationship. There's just so much. So that's my thoughts today for our latest short individual episode of In the Relationship Arena. What are the conversations that you are not having? What are the conversations that you could have? And have you established your relationship foundation? Have you established the rules of engagement? Do you know what the relationship dynamics are? And if you haven't, then you want to have some help with that, then why not get in touch? Because you can have these conversations before they become an issue. You can have these conversations so you can step into that next phase of your relationship feeling really confident. There's no nasty surprises. There's no hidden aha moments. You're all really clear about what that's going to look like. I encourage you to have these conversations, and I'm happy to help you have them. So I'm going to be here once a week through the autumn season with some sessions on In the Relationship Arena. I've got some lovely guests lined up as well, so it's not just going to be me talking. But if you have particular topics that you're interested in hearing my views on, then please do let me know. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss another episode, then please do like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on it. So I hope that you have healthy and harmonious relationships, that you take care of yourselves, and I will see you again here soon in the Relationship Arena.